into it. So first we'll have Mr. Gutenberg here with the AIDS Health Foundation. Then we'll have Salome Grassen, who is a volunteer with Planned Parenthood. Next we'll have Mr. Jerry Green, who is the Outreach Director for VoteVets.org. Dolores Grayson, who is a member of Organized Florida. Reverend Russell Meyer, who is the Executive Director of the Florida Council of Churches. And lastly, we'll have the State Representative Sean Shaw, who is Florida's 61st House District Representative.
If everybody can just spell their names when they get up to their
Sure.
microphone.
My name is Michelle Prieto. I am the Tampa coordinator for the nonprofit Mi Familia Vota. We're here today to demand that Senator Marco Rubio vote against the Senate health care repeal bill written and negotiated in secret. The event is part of a nationwide day of action where community members will highlight the extreme difficulties that veterans, women, and people with disabilities will face trying to receive care of the Republican if this plan passes. This plan will repeal. This repeal plan will only result higher costs for less coverage, got key protection for women and people with pre-existing conditions, impose an unfair age tax for older Floridians, and cripple the ability of Medicare to provide full care for veterans, people with disabilities, low income, seniors, and others. In fact, this is not a health care bill at all. It's a $765 billion tax break for the wealthy and corporations and would slash coverage for more than 22 million Americans. The delay of this vote is a testament to all our hard work in organizing as progressives. And it's also a testament to how bad this bill really is. That's why we can't give up. We still need to be vigilant. Republicans are still looking to hold this vote in the next couple of weeks when they return. There's little wonder why they're having to delay this vote. This is a terrible bill for Americans, and we're here to tell you why. I'm going to do Spanish really fast, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the speakers. Yes, sir. Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E. Last name P-R-I-E-T-O. Mi familia vota. Ni siquiera 100 días de su presencia, el presidente rompió una de sus mayores importantes promesas al pueblo estadounidense, que todos recibirán cobertura de salud, incluso si no podían pagar el seguro ellos mismos, y no aprobarían ningún recorte él no aprobaría ningún recorte de seguro social, Medicare o Medicaid. Pero sí lo hizo. Trumpcare obliga a las familias a pagar deducibles más altos, aumentando el costo del bolsillo. Elimina la atención médica de 24 millones de estadounidenses que trabajan duro. Quitará beneficios esenciales de salud y protección para los estadounidenses con condiciones preexistentes. Obliga a los estadounidenses de 50 a 64 años a pagar primas 5 veces más altas de los que los demás pagan por la cobertura de salud, sin importar lo saludable que son. Acortará la vida del fondo fiduciario de Medicaid y saqueará fondos de los que dependen los ancianos para obtener la atención de largo plazo que necesitan. Esto no es una buena idea. Gracias. Thank you. Gutenberg here.
Good morning. My name is Gutenberg Pierre, which is spelled G-U-T-T-E-N-B-E-R-G. Pierre is P-I-E-R-R-E. I'm actually a consultant for the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We actually are speaking against the Trumpcare, bill, as it is in all conditions. As we speak on Medicaid itself, I'm here basically to let people know that people living with HIV represent, most of them are about 40% or higher as far as those that are living with HIV that receive Medicaid services. So this would be dramatic if this health care bill passes. The cuts itself, the way the bill is actually designed against pre-existing conditions, not only just HIV, but mental health, substance abuse treatment, pretty much would be slashed. A friend of mine here, Catherine, I actually brought her out, and she wasn't comfortable sharing her story, but I did want to just share some dialogue that she shared with me. She said this would pretty much be detrimental. It's kind of almost like a genocide, if you look like it. She said that you actually won't have access to care and treatment, where pretty much, with the care and treatment that you receive today, the virus itself is very manageable, similar to diabetes. But imagine just wiping that slate clean, where you have no access to health care, no access to treatment. Then basically you have pretty much the 1990s repeated all over again, where people are dying because of HIV and AIDS, which was considered a manageable disease within the last 3 years. So I wanted to share that from AIDS Healthcare Foundation. But most importantly, certainly I just want people to really be vocal when they're looking at this healthcare bill. The more voices that we hear in our community, the more rallies that we have, it shows that there's a need, because a lot of people are not speaking out. A lot of my counterparts are not speaking out because they can't. They're part of other agencies where they can't vocalize their voices. But their concerns are just as concerned as we are at AIDS Healthcare. So again, we are against Trumpcare.
Yes, and my name is Catherine, K-A-C-H-E-R-I-N-E. My last name is Burston, B-U-R-S-T-O-N. And I am speaking out. I am asked personally as an advocate for AHF. As being an advocate for the last 2 years with Mr. Pierre, I have seen a lot of things, and I have heard stories from nearly just strangers, just happy to see someone taking a step out on faith to embrace them, even just passing out condoms to show protection, just to save someone else's life in order to save their own. It means a lot to people in our community, and then also with the changes so drastically changing, and you want to take care of you want to take away the little bit that we have left, and it is so sad. It is so sad that people are feeling like, even our seniors, you want to take away so much that we pretty much worked for, and then you just want to just push it off. I'm asking our state legislators, whoever out there that is still for the people, to please let us have what belongs to us. Let us still have our Medicaid benefits without putting a chopping block on these things that we so deserve. Thank you.
It's right now. There was a small change. It's going to be Vivian Olivia Warren. She's going to be speaking for Planned Parenthood.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Vivian Olivia Warren, and I am a Planned Parenthood supporter and volunteer. I am here today to ask all members of Congress and senators to please reject this latest healthcare proposal. I will be brief in my comments as to the reasons why this latest proposal should be rejected. Women's health care, which Planned Parenthood provides for a lot of the women of this country, is not a political issue. It is a vital preventive health care for women. 1 in 5 women of this country go to Planned Parenthood for their breast cancer screening, gynecological exams, etc. Last year, 300,000 women had breast cancer screenings, and there were 70,000 cancers detected at little or no cost to them. Unintended pregnancies are at its lowest in the last 2 decades. Abortions, which is one of this administration's favorite topics when they talk about defunding Planned Parenthood, is at its lowest ever since Roe versus Wade. Planned Parenthood CEO Cecile Richards was just in Speaker Ryan's district in Racine, Wisconsin, which is a rural area. Women came up to her concerned with how they would get their cancer screenings and all the other services that we provide. Senator Rubio, I see you're back there. This is for you. We will not take this quietly. I have been to your office on Kennedy Boulevard, which is now closed due to your ignoring your constituency here in Hillsborough County. We take full credit for your having to close it. You have 2 daughters that you should be thinking about. Your gravy train will not last forever, Marco. Ask Congressman David Jolly. Thank you.
Jerry Green.
Morning, everyone. Morning. My name is Jerry Green. I'm the Director of Outreach for VoteVets.org here in Florida. VoteVets.org is a national veterans organization. We have about 500,000 members and supporters of VoteVets.org. I'm also a Desert Shield and Desert Storm veteran. Efforts in Congress to cut Medicaid jeopardize a critical source of health care coverage for veterans. Approximately 1.75 million veterans, and that's nearly 1 in 10, have Medicaid as a source of coverage. This coverage ensures that veterans get the primary and specialty health care that they need when they need it. About 340,000 veterans nationally receive coverage through the Affordable Care Act. Most of these veterans would likely lose that coverage if Congress passes the Republican proposal to slash funding for the Medicaid expansion. Approximately 1.75 million veterans rely on Medicaid. Many of these veterans have extensive health care needs, as you can probably imagine. High-cost enrollees, such as veterans who require intensive care for conditions like traumatic brain injuries and musculoskeletal disorders, are at particular risk if the program is cut. Efforts to cap and cut Medicaid risk the health and security of veterans most in need. The Medicaid expansion extended coverage to millions, including hundreds of thousands of veterans. Congressional efforts to end the expansion, whether it was through a freeze in enrollment or a phase out of federal funding, pulled the rug out from under veterans who had gained coverage. In 2015, more than 913,000 veterans between the ages of 18 and 64 were enrolled in Medicaid, and about 340,000 veterans received Medicaid, again, like I said, because of the Affordable Care Act. Veterans and their family members depend on Medicaid. Sometimes it supplements VA or other coverage. For many, it is the only source of coverage that they have. Veterans are at a higher risk than most for unique and sometimes serious or complicated healthcare issues as a result of their service. These health conditions might include other brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder injuries. For veterans with those conditions and the ones who need ongoing treatment, Medicaid is a tremendous support. And for many, it is the largest source of their support. Congress should be taking steps to make it easier, not harder, for veterans to access the health care they need when they need it. Voting to end the Medicaid expansion or to cap or cut Medicaid is a vote against veterans and their families. This is a disservice to those who have served our country. Many advocacy groups express frustration at the widely held misconception that all military veterans can seek Veterans Administration care. Will Fisher, who is the VoteVets.org government director in Washington, D.C., said, quote, I can't tell you how many times someone with a puzzled look on their face has remarked, don't all veterans go to the VA? It should be crystal clear to people that this bill is absolutely a veterans issue. In Florida alone, 120,000 veterans who depend on Medicaid would see their care fundamentally change or altogether cut if the Republican plan to cut health care pushed by Ryan and Trump, Cabello, Mass, etc. Under the Senate Republicans' bill, an estimated 44,900 veterans in Florida would actually lose Medicaid coverage by 2026. Again, 44,900 would actually lose Medicaid coverage. And that's the most veterans from any state. That 44,000 number is the most veterans from any state that would lose. So it's incumbent on Little Marco to make sure he votes against that bill. He must vote against that bill. Plans to eliminate protections for people with pre-existing conditions would also make it harder for those who have served our country to receive the care they need should they or their family members enroll in the marketplace. This is shameful and a disservice to those who valiantly serve to protect our freedoms. Ultimately, President Trump has not been truthful with veterans. He intends to take away the safety net that he promised to leave in place. Promise is broken. Trump is chipping away at veterans' benefits. So to Congress, I say, thank veterans for their service. Do not betray them. And the last thing I want to say is, for those of us who oppose this legislation, we must keep our foot on that gas pedal. Do not believe that the senators, the Republican senators in the Senate are done. They want to lull you into that belief that, okay, well, we couldn't pass it, so we're on to something else. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal. Thank you.
Oh, did that?
All right. Oh, actually, you still took it. Sorry.
Jerry, check your
I think
paper.
you still have one.
We'll be bad when we take.
Let me just make sure.
All right. Dolores Grayson, Organized Florida.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dolores Grayson, S.D. like in baby, E-L-O-R-E-S. Last name is Grayson, G like in George, R-A-Y-S-O-N. I'm a member of the Organized Florida. I just want to let you know, if this bill is passed, how it would affect me. I have a medical condition where I had a triple heart bypass. I have to take medication for the rest of my life. I have Medicare, Medicaid. I have medication that costs at least $600. with they have to take every month. If they take that away, I can't live without that. I can't pay that out of my pocket because I am retired on a limited income. And I constantly go in and out of the hospital. Just within the last 3 weeks, I was in the hospital twice. You can imagine what my hospital bill is. Just to walk in the door, you're looking at $2,000 just to write your name on a piece of paper. I can't afford that. So I need to stay with what I got. So I know they're going to pay for it. Okay, I just want to say that my medication is very important. Even if they pass something where I can't afford to have, I might as well be dead because I can't pay out of my pocket. And to keep going, I want to enjoy my children. My kids might be grown, but they're having kids and their kids having kids. And I paid my dues. I retired. I want to see my grandkids grow up. I want to enjoy things. I get out in the community now. With this medication, give me a chance to work with the community. I go out and help where I possibly can. And I want to leave this note with you. I just want you to know I am a recipient of Medicaid, Medicare, not a millionaire.
Reverend Russell Meyer.
Thank you. I'm Reverend Dr. Russell Meyer of the Florida Council of Churches, RUSSELL, MEYER. Today across the country, including in Washington, D.C., where there will be a 23-hour vigil led by faith leaders from the broadest spectrum of this country. And in communities like this, everywhere faith leaders are showing up and saying absolutely no to the Better Care Reconciliation Act. Because this is about heart, it's not just about money. The New Testament says that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And this bill is evil because it's about the love of money. What it does is it trades grandmother in the nursing home and grandchildren at the pediatrician so that the 400 richest families in America can have a little bit more money to buy a yacht. That's what this bill does, and it's absolutely evil. And what Senator Marco and his colleagues need to come to an understanding of is that they have to project a vision of society, not just a theory of government. And the notion that we should just have a small government because small government somehow is a good by itself is a lie. That's branding, that's marketing. It doesn't do anything for the people who elect them. We need a real vision of society. And a vision of society that everybody has a place and belongs and can flourish and do well. And when they're sick, can see a doctor who can help make them well. That's the vision of society that everybody, every faith community, people non-faith share, right? And so how do we get there? That's the question. Well, the easiest solution is to restore the subsidy funding to the Affordable Care Act. That's the easiest solution right now. Let's be clear. All the talk about collapsing the Affordable Care Act is because through budget reconciliation maneuvers, they've withdrawn the subsidies and they have made the markets unstable. Markets are only unstable because of the actions that Senator Rubio and his friends have taken in Congress. So stop it. Stop putting the love of money over the love of your community. Right? So let's focus what the Better Care Reconciliation Act would actually mean in Tampa Bay. Here's what it would mean. It would mean that we'd close every clinic and we'd close every nursing home so that the houses on Davis Island could be elevated above the rising water. That's what this means, right? Let's be very clear what's being traded off. The only way this bill goes forward is by being revenue neutral in the Senate, because they don't have 60 votes to undo the Affordable Care Act. It's not there. So the only way they can do it is through budget reconciliation. And what they really want to do is tax cuts for the richest Americans, because they do not have a vision of society as a community of people. This is what America looks like right here in this room. A community of people. And Senator Marco Rubio, this is what you should be creating good government for. Please do it. Thank you.
We're going to add one more speaker. Mark Rodriguez, he's an organizer for AFL-CIO. And then last, the state representative, Sean Shaw. And then we'll close. Thanks.